in Mexico. Here's the headline today: Mexico's season of scandal and violence as it descends into hell. Business Week. How is that our fault, and why should we merge with that? We should try to reform it. But our system wants to go to that model instead of having this model because we're run by crooks by and large. So the toll-free number to join us with your quick comment or question for the professor is 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. Your comment, your question for Professor Darrell Hamamoto, 800-259-9231. I'm Alex Jones, your host. The news websites are Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com. The nightly news site is PrisonPlanet.tv. I've been around 20 years now. It's now 20 years on air plus. We're into our 20-plus years. It's 20, so we're into the 21st year to be technical, but 20 years on air. And we've had for about 15 years PrisonPlanet.tv, all my films, the nightly news, the daily radio show, commercial video podcast, a bunch of books, other videos. It's usually $54 a year. It's now $29.95 or roughly half off. A huge deal. That's $250 a month, and you can share it with 20 people. So a great way to get your Christmas shopping done. Get 20 gifts for $29.95, or get them $5.95 1-month membership and share that with up to 20 people. And of course, your signing up helps fund the operation as well. So thank you all for your support. PrisonPlanet.tv. We're running a bunch of specials today as we self-fund. We're having an X2 sale. We basically sold out of that, but just got another limited supply in, the last of the year, of the Super X2 Deep Earth Crystal Source iodine that's done so much for myself. You've heard the rave reviews. First ever sale on X2 where it's by itself. Our most popular supplement, 17% off, and free shipping only on X2 throughout the rest of the week until the 17th. That's the last day we can guarantee you'll get it before Christmas. Was $29.99, now it's $24.99. That's $5 off and free shipping. That's another $5 value roughly. With shipping, you would have paid $38. Now you're paying $24.95 and no shipping. Very limited time sale, only through next Monday. Order now, get it before Christmas, and it also makes a great Christmas present. Infowarslife.com or 888-253-3139. We're also running specials on Super Detox Special, Fluoride Shield, and X2. 46% off, Biodefense Pack, Survival Shield X2, and Lung Cleanse. That's now 58% off. InfoWars Life Challenge, Super Male, Super Survival Shield, 42% off. All available, InfoWarsLife.com or 888-253-3139. All right, Professor, I'm going to stop ranting here. I want to give you the floor for 7-8 minutes to talk about whatever you think's front and center instead of me asking the questions. Then we're going to take some calls.
Great. First, Alex, congratulations on your 20 years of broadcasting. Your work, the contributions of your fine guests, your reportage team, has directly influenced and informed not just my lectures, which, of course, has reached any number of students by now, but also my scholarship. There's a new book of mine that's in the mail to you that explicitly acknowledges your contribution to my own intellectual development.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. I can't wait to maybe carry the book and obviously have you on about it once I've read it.
Absolutely. And also, just as sort of a experiment, 10 minutes prior to having this conversation with you, I took some Secret 12. It's basically a liquid B12 vitamins, put it sublingually. And I take this right before the lectures because my goal is to be as fluid and slick as Joel Osteen, one of our favorite glitter bug preachers for the international audience.
Well, you're a sweetheart for plugging it. We really are proud of Secret 12. Thank you so much, brother.
It's great. Thank you. Well, thank you. It does work. It does something to the synapses.
Well, thank you. So, I mean, I've asked so many questions here, but front and center, what are you most focused on right now?
Well, you alluded earlier to some of the trials and tribulations that I've been experiencing at the University of California. It's been almost not complete, but almost a complete reversal of fortune since that time. And the reason for that, again, it goes back to the power of information and analysis and the power of the pen. because my book came out, and everything that I've been talking about and teaching at the classroom level is now codified three-dimensionally in a book. Also, a colleague of mine who's been harassed continuously, and just to show you the viciousness of the university system, she was declared clinically dead due to a massive health crisis, which I won't go into detail. And she published a path-breaking law school journal article, which, by the way, if any of your listeners or viewers internationally or in the U.S. would like a copy of that journal article, have them email me and I'll send them a PDF of it. It's a great article because it combines her own tribulations as a woman, as a female, as a scholar who's trying to forge new paths in academic and social cultural analysis, who was relentlessly persecuted by her own department, who, by the way, are also Asian American. So this idea of uniform white oppression is really, 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 it's a cliche. It's becoming cliche, and it's not really completely accurate anymore. We have to get beyond that.
Yeah, gangs of humans oppress other humans, period.
Absolutely. And in yesterday's concluding lecture, I got a box of chocolates and a card from an appreciative student. But at yesterday's lecture, I pointed out that Mao Zedong, who was, of course, as you know, a Yale in China, and he was cultivated by the OSS. You've spoken to that many, many times in this show. And that information is available in mainstream publications, histories. I cited the fact that he's Han Chinese, and he was responsible for the death of upwards of 80 million fellow Han Chinese. So where does the race and ethnicity critique fit into that model? It doesn't really explain it. The race, ethnicity, gender critique does not explain the economic meltdown that we're experiencing currently. And I think, and I'm working on this is speculative, but I think that the diversion of energy, intellectual, scholarly, and student energy from the real important monumental issues of our time has itself been engineered. It seems like the foundations are pouring tons and tons of money on race, ethnicity, and gender studies to the exclusion of other modes of analysis. And that comes out of the elite institutions so that people like Professor Gruber can do his dirty work in the dark. This is what's going on here. And same with the humanities. Again, speculative, but the reason why students are dropping out of the humanities in droves is because there's something called the theory scare that took hold in academia in the 1970s. And I think I alluded to this in an earlier conversation with you. Instead of reading the great classics, Dostoevsky, which I'm reading again now as an adult, it has much more impact on me as a grown-up person. Instead of reading these classics, they were just engaging in literally fraudulent, high theoretical, philosophical screeds by people like Paul Diman. They were people that were imported primarily from France. And I think that was a psyops. If any enterprising PhD student wants to do a forensic analysis of it, it was sort of like the 1960s when all the LSD and the peace and love and the fake counterculture was brought in by people like Stuart Brand and Timothy Leary. Once that glow started to wear off, the humanities, which traditionally has been the source of dissent and incisive, speculative thinkers with artistic skills that can help humanity progress forward, they brought all these foreign intellectuals like Jacques Derrida and all these people. They're still studying in the English departments. Now, if they started studying the humanities, the Renaissance, classical Greek, Roman societies, Sumerian, Babylonian, from a New World Order perspective, looking at some of the occultic elements that underlie these different cultures, I think they would have students hanging off the rafters in humanities courses. They're bored. Students are not buying it anymore. They're sick of it. The race, ethnicity, gender model has been in place for 40 years. It's been funded by the Ford Foundation. And by the way, there are academic books coming out right now, currently, that are tracing institutionally how entities like the Ford Foundation have hijacked academic discourse, scholarly production at the university.
Well, sure, and Eisenhower, in his farewell address, warned of that, not just a military-industrial complex. He talked about an academic elite in intellectual circles creating, with federal funding, a unified system because they are worried about classical liberalism, Thomas Jefferson liberalism.
Absolutely.
They're scared to death of it, so they create mainly like a new cult of it where either men only sit around and talk about sports, which is its own mindless diversion, or let's talk about race, and let's talk about sexual stuff, and let's talk about, how women have, instead of just living and actually being liberal and free and open and being tolerant, instead it's you must adopt the one thing we're pushing, and then we learn it wasn't about tolerance at all. It was about getting in the mode of following orders, and that it's actually a great tyranny that we're facing.
It's a form of control, political, economic control through cultural indoctrination. And unfortunately, the university has been transformed into the site of this indoctrination.
Well, I know why your students are sick of it, because when I hear it, when I walk in and people are watching ESPN and they start wanting me to talk about it, I don't even get mad at them. I just leave. Or whenever people sit around at a table, I go to dinner with somebody and they start bringing up race and, from a liberal or an other side of it, I'm like, hey, I'm done. I'm not discussing it. And I'm not saying I'm some great goody two-shoe, but as you said, these issues, they took real evils, magnified them, set up a whole system around that with guilt when it has nothing to do with it, and now they've replaced it with all these new despotisms, all these new oppressions, and they're just using it as this hot button issue where I don't care what color you are, people are paralyzed by it, and then actually don't mingle with people that look or act different because they're all so scared. And then, as you said, they can all then be controlled by their little local racial capo, who then interfaces with the foundations and the government. And if any of those capos or chiefs ever get off the reservation, their money's cut off, they're targeted. But I think what you got at, you were attacked at first, but then when you fought back and didn't back off, then you got more support and the system backed off. And that's what I've experienced. When we have the facts, when we have the truth, when people are hungry for it now, when real revolution is in the air, a revolution of ideas, we're selling ideas that no army can stop. I mean, as Victor Hugo said, no army can stop an idea whose time has come. And that time has come. And I don't think the establishment can put this thing back together again, Professor.
They cannot. The truth, writing, research, InfoWars, this will win the day for us. But in addition to that, it doesn't hurt if you lawyer up as well. And I engaged the service as one of the best. He's Mr. Dan Siegel. He's a civil rights attorney in Oakland, California. He has whipped the UC any number of times. And in my situation, he's going to hand them their butt. So it also takes the threat of a nice butt kicking, too.
Well, good job. Good job. I'm glad you're able to continue in your free speech, because when you study real globalist publications, it's all conspiracy. I mean, it's not even really...
Absolutely.
Mainline history books, it's in there. It's just that the students aren't given any of this.
They're not. There's just sort of an inculcated linkage blindness, as I would call it. A lot of it has to do with the fact that most professors stop growing after they receive tenure. They think that they're over the hump there. But they're going to start waking up really quickly when they learn, through my efforts and other people's, that our pension funds and our retirement and our investment funds are going to be systematically looted. And by the way, the University of California, this is a warning to other institutions, public institutions or not. It seems like they're going for the so-called sustainability economy. So they've hitched their investment wagon to the gore and blood team, blood and core investment team, sustainability, weather change, Agenda 21, as you alluded to earlier. Because most people at universities are sort of hippy-dippy. They want to drive a Prius and wear Birkenstocks and have a ponytail.
And that economy bankrupted Spain, so they've got to know they're hitched to a loser. And it's meant to lose. They don't want a real sustainable economy.
No.
They want the sexy austerity. I go to Whole Foods and half the magazines are, it's great to be poor now. It's so cool. But then meanwhile, Obama's flying around on Air Force One telling Africans they can't have cars or air conditioners. I mean, why not say you can have clean cars and clean air conditioners? I mean, it's just, they're teaching us it's not good to progress. as a new dark age to stop the renaissance that threatens the monopoly of power. We're going to do two quick segments before Billy Corrigan joins us with phone calls straight ahead. Pete, Eddie, Julio, Frank, Dr. Kelly, and others. Your calls are straight ahead on the other side of this break. I'm Alex Jones, prisonplanet.tv.